All right, back at TD Garden, I am Josue Pavon alongside Bobby Manning. The Celtics snapped their 3-game skid against the Portland Trailblazers, beating them 115-93. Yeah, we got more to talk about, Bobby, especially your boy Grant Williams. Now, is this thing set in stone? I mean, he did play in this game. He played in the fourth quarter, hit a 3 to start. The Celtics had a very comfortable lead. Garbage time, if you will, as people will call it. But moving forward, is this the norm? I mean, Blake Griffin played over him. You talked about what Sam Hauser meant for this team coming off the bench. Where do you find, or where do you see, rather, Grant Williams fitting throughout this West Coast road trip or 6-game road trip?
You see that he'll play in some matchups, which is where he's at, I guess, situational matchup. And Cleveland, not an option for him. Yeah. This game tonight, Portland, not a bigger team, right. More wing-oriented. He's not playing much, and I can't find a rhyme or reason for it. He's struggling, to be certain. The stats since mid-December, aren't pretty. He's playing below his standard. He's trying to break back out of it, and he's handling it well by all accounts. You talked to Al Horford. I talked to Blake Griffin in the locker room. They're all pretty impressed with how he's handling a tough situation.
What do you see he needs to kind of do to get out of that hole that he's in right now and kind of get back to being the guy he was for you earlier this year and last year?
I mean, I think, the biggest thing is for him to continue to work and stay ready and do the things that he needs to do. And he's been great at that. Grant has been very professional, very positive, and when he's getting these opportunities, he's making the most of them, and it's something that as a team we're just rallying together, and at the end of the day, just all we're worried about is continuing to get wins and continuing to play the right way.
He couldn't lift for a little while, try to get back to it, and still dealing with some soreness that he didn't want to let on to himself. So it's interesting that comes out, you would think, through his camp. He's in a tough spot. I don't love what they're doing with him because I think he's a rock. I think he's a staple. You hear players say that, and you heard Joe say that they need him. So why isn't he playing? Why isn't he finding some rhythm and trying to fight his way out of this? Any other player on the roster, I think for the most part, would get another chance. I guess the close comparison is Sam Hauser, where he went through for a couple months there.
Yeah, I mean,
he did end up losing minutes.
Yeah, that did cross my mind, but obviously what you're thinking about, which a lot of Celtics fans are thinking about, is what he did last year, what he meant for this team.
He was a big part of that run.
Right. And there isn't a set in stone player who you say, okay, that guy deserves way more minutes than
That's
Grant.
What makes this so confusing.
That's the part that makes it confusing. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. But also, you got to look at the numbers, though. Like, Grant, he's been cold for a while. I mean, I feel like we haven't noticed as much, or it wasn't pointed out, because the Celtics were winning games. As soon as the winning stopped, that's when Joe Mazzulla, I felt like, was forced to shake things up. And I commend him for making that adjustment, honestly, just because that's a tough decision to make. Like you said, someone who plays 26, 27 minutes a night, throughout the entire year, during a contract season where he's trying to prove himself to maybe not to the Celtics, but to another team out there who's interested in signing him, and Mazzulla makes that call. But for him to do this long, it makes me wonder, one, we know that he has other options because we see that, obviously. But two, it makes me wonder if this team is better off that way in the long run. If it's set in stone that Grant's going to be out of the rotation and only play if someone is hurt, or even if someone is not playing well, because not even Robert Williams, the injury to Robert Williams out for 7 to 10 days is getting him playing time right now.
You get what you pay for, though, and we see with Mike Muscala, he's limited. There's only certain matchups he can play in.
We're learning that. That's true.
Blake Griffin, we know where he's at this point in his career, and Luke Cornett, I thought, playing a lot against Cleveland, struggled at -17 in that game, I believe, at the end of it. So the alternative options aren't great. If they had a surefire guy, and I guess Hauser's the closest they have to it, who could step into that role and play well consistently night to night, I'd be more open to the idea of not only phasing out Grant, but moving on from Grant at the end of the year. But I think they're going to regret it if they end up losing him here. He's a 40% three-point shooter. We know that at this point through a couple seasons. Even with the slump, still at 40%. He defends every position. And that's why when I hear matchup call, I like what Jared asked after we were asking that first game.
Elaborate on that. Yeah. What do you mean?
I liked what he asked because I was like, why didn't Grant play tonight? Mike Muscala, other guys were in there, and Joe just goes matchups. And Jared follows up. He's he's normally a guy who can fit in every matchup. So what didn't you like about this one? They didn't want to switch as much. They needed some floor spacing. It doesn't make sense to me right now. It's weird. It's really weird, especially at this time of year, to start experimenting with a ton of other stuff, not know what you have, and hurt a guy's confidence, I think. Putting him on the bench, as much as we did, we saw him down there looking dejected, not as jovial as we see him usually along the bench. And that's why I liked when he was talking trash on those free throws on Monday, because that's Grant. That's who we know him to be. And it stinks he didn't come through in that situation, but Joe after the game says we believe in him. And for him to not play here tonight, says a different message. You're looking at actions, not words.
Well, it's either that or I love him, right? That's usually what he says. That's usually what he tells his players during tough times, and I'm sure this time is no different. And this segment of the Garden Report is brought to you by our good friends over at HelloFresh. Head over to HelloFresh.com/Garden60, where you get 60% off some of the freshest meals, easy to make meals that you can do in under an hour, and they have a little bit of something for everyone, right? So go check them out. That's HelloFresh.com/Garden60 and take advantage of that 60% off. Trust me, you will not regret it. Moving ahead, Bobby, what else did you see from this game? I mean, going into this road trip, Grant Williams was obviously a talking point, the front court, how Joe Mazzulla is going to, work his rotations in. But what about the backcourt? I mean, Malcolm Brogdon had a tough game. You wonder how he's going to bounce back. Sam Hauser, is this a thing in the sense of he can carry this over throughout the span of a road trip? Because, I mean, that's where someone like Grant can obviously, put himself back into the mix, or even someone else, on Joe Mazzulla's bench.
Hauser's my big takeaway. He looked great tonight. Maybe his best game with the Celtics I've seen all around. Poking balls loose in the lane, hitting threes, running good actions to get quality shots. Gone to the lane, drew a pair of free throws. So that's a silver lining on a night where you lose Grant effectively in the course of a rotation. You get good minutes from a Hauser in his spot. And I'm intrigued by Hauser because it seems like teams try too hard to attack him. They're going at him. They're playing outside their offense, trying to line him up and play in isolation. I think sometimes that fits what the Celtics want to do defensively, draw teams in isolation and stop them. Celtics showed a crowd, and they defended great tonight. The Blazers didn't hit a three the entire second quarter. So that's my big other takeaway tonight, is that Hauser's continuing to show that he's worth being involved.
We'll see how this thing plays out on the road, of course. Celtics on a 6-game road trip that starts in Atlanta Saturday night, and you already know we got you covered here at CLNS Media, clnsmedia.com, and, of course, the Celtics postgame show on YouTube at CLNS Media. This segment of the Garden Report is also brought to you by our good friends over at Athletic Greens. Guys, take care of your health if you haven't already. Head over to athleticgreens.com/garden, where you can get not only some of the best supplements that you need to take care of yourself in terms of your gut health, probiotics, protein. I mean, look, everything you need to start your day is in this, and all you need to do is head over to athleticgreens.com/garden. You get a year's supply of vitamin D, including 5 free travel packs just for watching the Garden Report. And we got plenty more. We got one more segment here at TD Garden, where the Boston Celtics just beat the Portland Trail Blazers 115-93. I am Josue Pavon. He is Bobby Manning. Stay tuned.